let's talk about stage movement. Stage movement refers to exactly what it sounds like, the movement of a character on stage. It is also referred to as a character's blocking. Now, blocking can be used in two different ways in the theater. If you're talking about where you're moving or where someone else is moving, that is called blocking, and it is used as a noun, like so my blocking, your blocking. My blocking says that I moved down stage left. It can be used like that. Or it can be used as a verb in the action of creating the stage movement and deciding where people are moving. So if you're blocking a scene, then you are creating the stage movement and telling people where they're going during that scene. Stage movement, blocking, is important because the way that the character interacts with other characters or interacts with their environment conveys a lot to the audience and lets people know where the focus is, what's going on in the scene. The way that a character moves can convey relationships between two or more characters, or between the character and the setting. It can create tension and let you understand like how people feel about each other. It can show power or dominance in a certain scene, because if someone has the focus, has the center of the stage, and has the control of the area, and then another person comes in and takes that from them, that's power and dominance, and that's something that's easily conveyed through movement. If you're moving, you need to have a purpose. There needs to be a reason for it. This reason could be that another character enters the scene. That there's a lot of reasons to move. Maybe a loud sound happens and your character gets frightened and moves. But there has to be a reason. How characters move and interact with their environment says a lot about the characters and says a lot about what's going on in the scene, as far as body language and who has the focus in the scene. In a scene, you have to create focus where it might happen naturally in real life. In real life, there are moments where one person is supposed to be the focus, and everyone else in the room is supposed to be giving them the focus that they need. That would be situations like a classroom. In a classroom, there should be someone who is standing at the front of the classroom, instructing, and everyone else is focusing on what that person is saying, listening to them, looking at them, pointing their bodies towards that person to let them know, I'm focusing, I'm paying attention to you. There's also situations like, say if you're in court. If someone's in court, the focus should be the judge, especially if the judge is talking. That's why if you see courtroom dramas, you'll see that everything is in a curve and it's all angled around the judge. But this is in real life, and we are not capable of really showing that scale of full life in the theater all the time. But we do have the ability to recreate these situations. So, there's a scene where there's a wedding. You're not going to put the bride and groom like over in the corner and then cover them up with a bunch of people and stuff and like not let them be seen. You're going to most likely have them upstage center, and then everyone else is going to be in a V that literally makes an arrow towards the two people. Or even if you are covering them up, they're at a lower level, and then the groom and the bride are up here, so you can see the bride and groom, and everyone else is facing toward them, so the audience faces towards them. The audience knows where to go. What's important when it comes to blocking a scene is creating what is called a stage picture. In a stage picture, you are able to freeze the scene at any moment and know what's the basic idea of what's happening. I'll go over focus in another video, but what's important to understand right now is the stage picture. Anyone who is on stage can be seen by the audience. So even if you aren't the focus at the time, you still have to help create the scene where the focus is where it needs to be. And focus can move in the stage picture, but everybody who's on stage is part of the stage picture. By creating effective blocking, or stage movement that conveys what you want it to convey. You can lead the audience in a direction that you want to lead them. You, as actors, control the focus of the scene. Dialogue is important, the way people speak to each other and the words that they say, but honestly, if you don't have the proper stage movement, then dialogue doesn't really work. If I come in and I say, I am in control, but I'm not standing in a position of power on stage, and someone else has a position of power on stage, then how am I the person? How am I in charge? So if I come in and I'm in charge, I want to take the most powerful position on the stage, and every other character's blocking needs to let the audience know that I'm in charge. Now, there are places where this happens naturally. If we think about the world that we live in, there are plenty of times where one person or one specific area is focused on by everybody else in the room or in the environment. When someone is giving a speech or at a press conference, you have a person who is standing at a podium, and all the other people that are there are focused on that person. They're listening to that person. All the cameras are pointed towards that person. All the microphones are pointed towards that person. They're getting the focus. You know, you have a wedding. In a wedding, there is someone who is supposed to be the focus. There's two people, really, who are supposed to be the focus, and everyone else is supposed to be focused on them. Now, at times, this is something that we'll probably touch on later, but it's called throwing the focus. So you have the focus as a character. You can then take that focus that everybody is giving you and turn it towards a different character. So in the press conference situation, you have someone who is answering questions, who is giving a press conference, and then takes questions from the audience. So that person who has the focus then goes, yes, you had a question. And then the focus goes to that person temporarily. They ask their question, and the focus goes back to the person who's holding the press conference. What's important to know about stage movement is that everything that you do is important. Every movement. If you don't have a reason to move, you shouldn't move. If you don't have a reason to cross stage, you shouldn't be crossing stage. Now, there are situations where the stage movement is written into the scripts, and it says this person moves here, this person moves there, this happens right here, and then they cross. And to an extent, you have to follow those, because if they're in the script, and the director should be following those directions and only inputting their own in situations where it's appropriate. There are scripts where the action, where the blocking is already written in for the director and for the characters. There's also situations where there's no blocking written in for the characters. Shakespeare is notorious for this. Many of my favorite fight scenes, like huge fight scenes, have been set up where it was, they fight, he dies. 4 words. 3-minute fight scene. So it's up to the director in that point to create the fight scenes that end the way that they're supposed to. There are scripts that say we put in stage directions, but the director can choose not to follow them. And in that instance, the director gets a choice. They get to either say, like, yes, we'll follow stage directions. No, we're going to do what I want us to do. Or let's follow the stage directions, but I don't like this part, so instead of that, you're doing this. And as I've said before, it's important to annotate your books, to write down your stage directions. We're going to go over that in another video.